Remember you must die. That's a way to start a video. Favorite 2025 right now. I'm raving about it to anyone who will listen. I called my parents, called my brother. I don't know who else to get on the nerves except for the void. Hello and welcome back to me screaming into the void. Today we are talking about one of my favorite movies at the moment. We are indeed talking about 28 years later from Danny Boyle. I don't even know where to start. The joy I feel when I watch certain movies. This is that movie this year for me. I will try and stop grinning because this movie made me so happy. There will be all the spoilers in this video.
Yes! That's awesome!
Directed by Danny Boyle, same director who did 28 Days Later, Trainspotting, Sunshine, and The Beach. Danny Boyle just has a certain way of making movies that excites me. And it's written by Alex Garland, who directed Ex Machina, Men, and Civil War. I adored Civil War. That movie was fantastic. It stars Aaron Taylor Johnson, Jodie Connor, Ralph Fiennes, Jack O'Connell, and the breakout star Alfie Williams. And the practical effects are supervised by Adam Gascoigne. We'll get into the practical effects. The zombies this time are out of this world. 28 Years Later is a sequel and yet can be also watched as a standalone coming-of-age story that shows what life is about 28 years after the apocalypse started. It is also setting up the sequel, The Bone Temple. We open up in the Scottish Islands. We see Teletubbies. Seriously, when I saw that, I was just having a major throwback into the 2000s. Teletubbies being shown on screen in such a horrendous way was exactly what I needed. It was very scary to watch, and I loved the vibe that we got from the get-go. Jimmy, a little blonde boy, is having a really bad time. Why? Because they're getting attacked by zombies. They used iPhones for this, but they had like this rig where they had 20 iPhones all lined up. And sometimes when you see the camera shift from one angle to the other, that is because there were 20 iPhones in a row shooting the scene and they could just jump seamlessly from one camera to the next. The visuals are insanity. I could not close my mouth because my jaw dropped so many times. So the little boy runs into the church, finds his dad, who thinks that I think he says the revelation is coming, and he is in this wondrous stupor praying to God while he gives his golden cross into Jimmy's hands. And as soon as I saw that, I thought, we shall see this cross again. Indeed, I was right, by the way. We'll get into that too. 28 years later, Britain remains quarantined. We are on Holy Island, Lindisfarne, a tidal isle connected to the mainland only during low tide. The survivors live in a fortified isolation. Jamie is living with his visibly not well partner and raises Spike, who is 12 years old. The scene starts with Spike sitting beside his mother on the bed and explaining to her that he and his father will go out onto the mainland. She obviously is not happy about it. We also see later that other people were mentioning, hey, 14, 15 is the minimum age. 12 is a little too early. Jamie, his father, says he's ready. We're gonna go. Even the boy seems to want to, even though who is a 12-year-old to say that he's ready to go out onto the mainland to kill a bunch of zombies? As they get ready to head out in the mainland, the rules are clearly stated. If you leave, you can't come back. But if you don't come back, nobody is permitted to go and find you. Danny Boyle chose to film in Northumberland specifically for Holy Island's eerie tidal isolation. The filming locations they used in this movie were the Holy Island for the tidal causeway and the community scenes, Healder Forest doubling for mainland terrain, and Cheddar Gorge. I really appreciated the scene with the journey across the causeway because you had these flashes back to archival footage from medieval Michael Arger's Kipling's 1903 Boots was playing in the background while the music from Young Fathers was playing over it. The whole soundtrack is fantastic, but that particular one and the one that we got right before it, I also like that they chose specifically this poem Boots because it's this mesmerizing recording by Taylor Holmes that gets more and more frantic as the poem moves along. The voice just keeps getting more intense and louder and insane because it's talking about infantry soldiers during the Boer War, focusing on the constant sight of the marching boots. The poem rhythm is designed to emulate the cadence of the foot soldiers marching, and it repeats the phrase like boots, boots, moving up and down again. There is no discharge in war. The poem highlights the psychological toll of war, that the only true discharge in this case is death. You had this beautiful landscape of this causeway with these two small figures in this grand reveal of nature, and you had this poem playing in the background and these superimposed cuts of archers and soldiers. Danny Boyle hits it out of the park right from the beginning. Spike experiences his first kill, which is one of the bloated zombies. There is 3 times. There is the bloated slow zombies, you have the alphas that seem to lead the fast pack, and then you have the fast pack, plus you have a little bonus. We shall get there. Spike experiences his first kill with this bloated zombie. I think his dad wanted him to start easy, and we get this beautiful arrow shot in the head, which marks the first step for him becoming ready for the outside. They find an abandoned house. They see this clearly infected person upside down who has Jimmy etched on his belly. And the son has a hard time because he's like, okay, this guy is tied up. We don't see that he's infected yet, even though you can hear it clearly. He asks his dad, why is he tied up? And his dad is like, hey, listen, it could be anything. It could be that they wanted to punish him. It could be that he was already infected. Who knows? As they exit the house back in the woods, they see a deer whose head has been ripped off with the spine, which we then realize at a certain point seems to be this signature kill that the alpha has. The dad is clearly not happy about that, and he's like, let's go back because this is not good. When we see the alpha for the first time, he's standing on a hill and there is this tree. This tree has a very high significance. Apparently it was an iconic British landmark, the Northumberland sycamore gap tree, which was felled in an act of vandalism in 2023. And this tree stood there for 150 years. Imagine 2 dudes just thinking, hey, you know what? We're just gonna fell it. Now there is just the stump of the tree symbolizing still what it once was. Since this never happened because it would have taken place after the zombie apocalypse, we notice that when we see the zombies in general, they are all very naked. Boyle highlighted this topic by stating that if you're recently infected, you would be wearing clothes. However, the clothes disintegrate with time, and after a couple of years, you would be naked because these zombies are not exactly taking care of their bodies while running through the woods and crawling across the floor. Due to Alfie being 14 years old on set and the child protective law, the zombies couldn't really be naked. So all the stuff that you see hanging loose is prosthetics. All of it. And he didn't know that until they were there. I think there was a intimacy coordinator who mentioned it to him and was like, hey, you know, actually, nobody's allowed to be naked. So the prosthetics team had to come up with all the extra parts. Back to the island where people are preparing a feast, and it is very obvious that they are looking forward to the heroes returning. Even when they had gone out, there was the whole village that came out and, you know, patted their backs and was like, you can do it, yay! I understand. You go back into medieval times when you have no internet and you have no electricity and you just have the small joys in life to celebrate. So they get attacked by these naked zombies. They run back back into the house and hide in the attic until the wee hours of the morning. After surviving most of the night and Spike seeing this strange puff of smoke in the distance that we will get to later, that bonfire made me happier than anything else. Not when I saw it the first time, but when I realized what it was. Jamie and Spike make a run for the causeway through the forest. The towering alpha zombie chases them through the forest, and we have the most beautiful, terrifying, insane, visually mesmerizing scene. They are running through the causeway. The tide is almost gone. You have the beautiful night skies in the background, and you have this insane zombie running behind them like a freight train. They finally get to the island. The people on the watchtower were able to spear the alpha with a massive flaming spear. That night we have the celebration. Jamie recounts the story like it was the most fantastical tale. Spike is clearly uncomfortable. Also, they give him beer to drink, which, okay, I mean, no. He sees his father making out with another woman, which visibly upsets him. He runs back home, finds his grandpa, talks to him about the bonfire they saw, and his grandpa tells him that there is a Dr. Kelson who seems to be still alive after all of this time, and he used to be grandpa's physician. And Spike then says, oh, a doctor? So he can help mom? His mother is clearly not well. The way that she was behaving seemed to be more like something neurological that was going on. He confronts the next day his father, not only about Rosie that his father slaps him for, which is like, what the heck? By the way, didn't like the dad much. He had certain things that were fine, but other things that he was doing, like punching walls and stuff, I was not having it. He confronts his dad about it, and his father explains to him that when they saw the doctor last, which was 15 years ago, they saw him surrounded by hundreds of corpses that the doctor had just dragged onto this green pasture. They found that slightly insane, and also the added fact that the doctor waved at them from afar and told them to come down creeped them out even more, and since then they haven't been back. In this moment, the kid decides to set fire to a very important part of the village, which contains all the things that they were able to gather and preserve for future purposes like medicine and what have yous, to create a diversion and be able to take his mother across the causeway to the highlands, because obviously he's going to look for the doctor. They seek shelter overnight, and the creepy crawly zombies, one of them crawls towards Spike while he fell asleep and starts slurping on his shoelace because he thinks it's a worm. And we see somebody killing the zombie. Afterwards, you realize it was his mother in that one little glimmer of lucidity that she had. We have a hard cut to soldiers running away from naked fast zombies. I love the visuals when we see the fast zombies. There is a lot of red lighting. There is a lot of close-ups. The features on these zombies is just peak practical effects. I was so happy to see such realistic zombies. Thank you so much to the special effects team, which was massive. And then we have our first live head-ripping scene from the alpha. He grabs one of the soldiers, rips it out, and the entire spine comes out, and he's like, ah! And I'm like, yeah, let's go!
Okay.
Cut outside to the zombies in a creek, and we see for the first time a highly pregnant zombie. Implying a lot of things. I mean, it could be anything. I have my theories after I saw the ending. I have a couple of theories which I'm like, oh. We have another cut to mother and son in a yellow flower field, and Cillian Murphy, not Cillian Murphy, because now we know that it's not Cillian Murphy who plays that zombie who looks like Cillian Murphy in the flower fields. In case you didn't know, now you know. Approaching from behind. The director, Danny Boyle, takes the blame for this. He said that he showed it to his girlfriend, and his girlfriend said, you do realize people are going to mistake him for Cillian, right? And he told her, don't be silly. When the trailer came out, he apologized publicly and said, listen, I knew, I was warned, and I thought, nah. He said he has eaten a bit of humble pie since. The boy kills the zombie, more fast zombies approach, and mother and son run into an abandoned gas station. That's when we meet Eric, who is the only survivor of a NATO boat that sunk and is a Swedish soldier. He saves them. That's when we get this face-to-face reality check. You have the outside versus the inside. And Eric the soldier is a reminder of what's going on in the real world, in the outside world. Life is still going on, people are still getting Botox, phones are still working, internet is up. He's like this spooky reminder of what's actually going on in the outside world. Then they start hearing screams from an abandoned train, and as the mother goes into the train, she sees the pregnant zombie we saw before. Yeah, she's giving birth now. And there is this very touching scene. I know it's a weird word to say. There is this very touching scene of this mother helping another mother give birth. The zombie is clearly in pain and she needs help. She helps her birth the baby, where you realize that the baby is not infected. So zombies can reproduce life without infecting it. I hope we will get into more detail in the sequel because we did not have much more information than the baby is not infected. Eric sees that, freaks out. The zombie mother is upset that her baby's not with her. Eric shoots her, wants to shoot the baby. Isla, Spike's mother, is not having it and keeping the baby to herself and saying, no, this is not going to happen. As Eric wants to shoot them, Samson, the alpha zombie, grabs Eric's head from below and does the spine ripping thing. I'm not sure if it's a thing that all alpha zombies do. He does it. He's upset that his zombie love woman.
What?
I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but he's clearly upset about the zombie who just gave birth, meaning he most probably is the dad of the baby, which brings yet more depth to the zombies because you realize, okay, not only have the zombies evolved into 2 to 3 different categories and can give birth to uninfected people, they also have developed feelings of some kind. And now I'm wondering, maybe they are even articulate because the alpha is able to shuffle zombie hordes around. I don't know exactly how. Maybe it's like a shepherd dog thingy. This is the first time in the franchise that we hear the word zombie spoken out loud because Spike calls the baby a zombie baby. Now Samso is John Wicking his way through the fields towards the child and the mother and the baby. Luckily gets tranquilized by nobody else than Dr. Kelson, played by, you guessed it, Ralph Fiennes. Beautiful. And he brings the survivors to his bone temple. When I tell you the macabre beauty that this bone temple exuded was immense. I was in awe and I loved that he built this monument as a memento mori. The bone temple that is built ties in to the sequel 28 years later, The Bone Temple. They filmed both movies back to back, meaning we will get the release of the sequel on January 16th. 2026, but it will be directed this time by Nia da Costa. I can imagine that after having directed one movie, Danny Boyle was like, I need a break. And I am pretty sure Nia da Costa, who also filmed the new Candyman, will do a great job. Here you go. Take over. I give you my actors and my entire crew. The Bone Temple stands for a visual climax telling the stories of loss and remembrance. These are all pillars and they go sky high and they form this kind of circle. And in the middle, you have the pièce de résistance, which is the skull pillar that towers above everything else. The doctor had taken Eric's head off of Samso's tranquilized hands. You, for the first time, see how he goes about getting these bones. As the father had said in the beginning, he thought the doctor was insane for having hundreds of corpses around him, but what he was actually doing was building a remembrance remembrance of all the people whose lives have been lost. He puts this head into this makeshift, very hot oven that he has above a fire where all the flesh gets cooked, falls apart, the skull remains. I find it beautiful. I know that some people might have been creeped out by it. Finally, we get the doctor checking in on the mother. He tells Spike that she has cancer and it has metastasized either from her brain to her body or from her body to her brain, but it is too late and there is nothing he can do. As the child rings with this reality that his mother will not be living much longer, the doctor prepares to send her upon a less painful death. So he tranquilizes the kid, takes the mother with him, and again, these visuals, you have the fire circling these bone pillars in the night sky, the mother going through these pillars while he then darts her with most probably a quick acting poison. He comes back with her skull, gives it to Spike and tells him, you know where to put it. You have this moment where Spike climbs this tower of skulls, puts her skull on the tippity top of it while the sun rises in the background. Ha ha ha! The visuals! I cannot state enough how beautiful the visuals are of this movie. And the soundtrack. Just do yourself a favor and watch this movie. I know that there is a lot of movies out there that you could be watching for free. However, this is, in my opinion, worth every penny because the love of the craft and of the storytelling, the duo of Alex Garland and Danny Boyle is just fantastic. Nearing the end, Kelson and Spike walk across the field back to the causeway with the baby. 28 days later, the boy is back on the mainland. He left the baby at the gates of the tiny island with a note explaining everything that has happened. That scene was gut-wrenching. You saw Jamie trying to run after him, even though it's obvious that the boy had already gone away and he was trying to run through the water, but the tide has already come and he couldn't get through. Danny Boyle was right when he said, "You will be heartbroken." Danny Boyle, I was heartbroken. Thank you so much, I guess. And the scene also reminds us of that one rule we heard in the beginning: no one is permitted to go and find you. While Spike is seated by the fire cooking a fish he just caught, zombies approach. He tries to kill a couple of them, then runs away and is hit with a stone wall that was clearly human-made. I wonder why. And that's when we see Sir Jimmy Crystal. Remember that zombie we met who was hanging upside down with Jimmy etched across his belly? Who is now grown up because Jimmy was the little boy from the beginning. Remember the Teletubby scene? This is when we are introduced to Jimmy Crystal, who seems to be having a cult following because they all have velvet tracksuits in different colors and blonde hair. What I love about this scene is that there is a complete tonal shift from what we saw until now. We had this gut-wrenching coming-of-age story with the little boy who loses his mother and needs to leave his father behind and rescues this baby. And then you just have this hard tonal change of Teletubby music playing while you have these velvet tracksuit blonde parkour style combo fighters jumping from that stone wall that was built, and the Teletubby song playing in the background changes to heavy metal music and the kills are just so good. And I'm pretty sure that this introduction in the very end will be the focus of the world building that we will see in the sequel. Because Jimmy Crystal is giving very weird vibes from the very beginning. Even though his velvet tracksuit wearing Teletubby blonde gang saved Spike from the zombies, it could be that Spike landed himself into a way worse situation. Jimmy has a very striking resemblance to Jimmy Savile, who after his death in 2011 was accused of assaying hundreds of people, including children. Danny Boyle and Alex Garland admit that this is deliberate. Alex Garland states, "He's a kaleidoscope, isn't he? A sort of trippy, effed up kaleidoscope." Bearing that in mind and then seeing Jimmy's character on screen, you can only imagine what kind of vibes this character will give in the sequel. Also, we see that cross that Jimmy the boy was given in the very beginning by his crazy pastor dad who thought that the rapture was coming, he is wearing that same cross, only it's upside down. And then we have the final shot of the movie with Jimmy approaching Spike saying, "Hello, my name's Jimmy. Let's be pals." This is the movie. This was the end. I also liked that during the entire end credits, you keep seeing flashes of the zombies. And in the very end, we get a flash of the Scottish flag and Spike's face. I can't wait to watch it a third time. Yes, I already watched it twice. The whole movie is genius. I was crying by the end, and not because I was moved by the story. I was moved by all of it. It was like a symphony to watch. Certain movies do that. They have everything done right, from the shots to the music to the actors to the mood to the feeling to the whole gut-wrenching made-up reality that makes me feel more than reality itself. It is very interesting to watch how the infected have evolved 28 years later. You have the crawlers, who are these bloated zombies that are feeding themselves off of worms because most probably that's the only thing that can't crawl away quickly enough from them. The alphas, who are clearly the intelligent predators and have a signature kill. And you have pregnant infected people capable of birthing uninfected infants. My personal highlights of the entire movie were the alpha chase through the causeway, visual masterpiece. Danny Boyle, you're not gonna see this, but thank you. This made me so happy. And yes, I cry when I'm happy, especially when it's a good movie. The Bone Temple was one of those structures that just left me breathless. I'm gonna build my own Bone Temple when there is a zombie outbreak. And the pregnant infected, because it kind of gives you hope, but also makes you question how it can be misused. And Jimmy, of course, because such a freaking tonal shift in a movie right in the very end when you know there is a second part coming out. Boyle did mention that them wanting to market the movie as a tearjerker made the studio fearful that they will not be selling as many tickets to the horror fans. Obviously, the core audience is the horror fan base, and they're concerned that the reviews might call this movie weepy. The first movie was emotional too. Boyle said, "You will weep in terror." I did not. I wept in awe and wonder. He also said that women are a very important part of the audience. We are here to stay. Horror movies are made for us, not just, but also. And he also said that 28 days later, they were trying to put Naomi Harris's character more front and center also in the posters, but the studios refused because they said that their target audience wasn't women. It was the 2000s, but already there, I was already part of the crowd. And they were dismissive already at that time about women watching horror movies. He knows that that has changed now, and he says, "I think that is a very good thing. Thank you, Mr. Danny Boyle, that you acknowledge the existence of women liking horror too." This whole video has been me just fangirling over this movie. I don't have any negative feedback. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about this movie, and if you were as awestruck by it as I was, and you could appreciate the visuals as much as I did, and you were in love with the soundtrack as much as I was. And if you weren't, the void is there to scream, so feel free to scream in the comments about that too. And on that note, thanks for floating out there with me today again. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!